Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about what is the tangible end goal of playing Dungeons and Dragons. All right, let's get into this. So I've been on this big OGGM like run recently. Been watching a lot of his content, and his content is inspiring a bit of my content right now. So he did this video, and he talked about how he does not understand. He's like, what if the point of playing Dungeons and Dragons is not fun, then what on earth is the point of it? What is the tangible end goal, right? And you could see in this video below, he gets a little bent about it. Like it upsets him. It's very upsetting, and I get it. A lot of people, the idea that the tangible end goal of Dungeons and Dragons is, people thought they knew this answer, right? They thought they knew this answer for decades, right? For 48 years, they thought they knew this answer, right? The tangible end goal, and you ask almost any DM, right? You ask almost anybody in the world except just Scott Garibay what the end goal of Dungeons and Dragons, you can get the same answer. They're all going to say the same. They're all going to give you the same nonsense answer. Here it is. Oh, to create, 4 hours of fun for you and your players. Nonsense. I'm going to explain it to you, right? So one, OGGM flat out asks the question, right? He's like, what is the point, right? What is the point of playing Dungeons & Dragons if the point is not to have fun, right? Great question. I'm going to give you the answer. Here we go. All right, the tangible end goal of every D&D Dungeons & Dragons session ever played should be, in my humble opinion, to make yourself a better person, make a number of your players equal to 1 plus, right, up to probably -1 your total number of players, because you're not going to reach everybody, right? So you're to make yourself a better person, to make your number of players at the table -1 better people, and this is critically important, to make citizens better people, right? Wait, what's that last one? Citizens? Citizens of your nation, citizens of the world, okay? And that means that it is not enough to make yourself a better person and make the people at your table better people without making citizens of your nation and the world better people, because it is outrageously selfish, and it is outrageously foolish, and it is outrageously disrespectful to Gary Gygax's legacy. He, in my humble opinion, he built Dungeons and Dragons to be a human improvement engine. And it is outrageously difficult to not see that if you look at Dungeons and Dragons clearly. All right? So let me explain. Now, I get it. You're like, Scott, wait, what? How on earth am I going to make myself a better person with Dungeons and Dragons, my players better people, and citizens of the world and my nation better people? I'll explain it to you right now, all right? So first of all, the moment you begin playing Dungeons and Dragons, right, you're going to spend a month, right, with the Essentials kit, right, and you'll run a little bit of Essentials kit. Maybe you'll get 3 months out of that, right? But then the moment you're like, as a dungeon master, you're like, oh, okay, I'm trying to craft a world for these players. So, I'm going to have to go to the DMG, the PHB, and the Monster Manual, right? The moment you do that, you're going to read 750 pages of content that's going to force you to do the following things. One, it's going to massively increase your vocabulary, okay? You're going to have to look up words before you're done with the DMG, the PHB, and the Monster Manual, right? You're not going to know them all, right? Right there, that one simple, small thing, right? Like, if you just run a good game of Dungeons and Dragons, and frankly, I think you might hit this point even from the Essentials kit, right? You're gonna have to look up, well, what the heck's a parapet, right? I don't know what a parapet is, right? And you're just gonna social interaction and exploration and combat and pillars. What do they mean by pillar of the game? Wait, a pillar is a hard piece of stone, right? How is this are they talking about a metaphor? What the heck is a metaphor? Wait. So the pillar is a metaphor, but there are also pillars in the you're going to have to stretch yourself, right? You're going to have to increase your vocabulary. Quite literally, the vocabulary of like what it takes to understand 750 pages of content written by absolutely no one who doesn't have at least 1 degree, right? Like at the D&D level, I don't think they're hiring a lot of people sans degree. I would bet that, right? Try to prove me wrong on that one. I'd be happy to hear you, right? So, and some of these people have multiple degrees, right? They're going to drag your vocabulary up, right? Broader vocabulary and sending people to dictionaries and thesauruses to understand what you are saying is, excuse me, is good, is very good. Oh, excuse me, is very good. When we read, when we learn, when we extend our language, it helps humanity. It drives us away from Maslow's valley, and it drives us to Maslow's pinnacle, where we live. We don't live worrying about food and shelter and clothing. We live at Maslow's pinnacle, right? Dungeon masters live at Maslow's pinnacle. They build worlds, right? They're not worried about shoving food in their maw. That task is already taken care of because they're world builders, right? You don't do the task of building worlds if you're still struggling to like put a roof over your head and shove food in your maw and make sure you're clothed, right? We live, dungeon masters live at Maslow's pinnacle, right? And we pull everyone up, right? We reach down over the cliff and say, join me in art, join me in passion, join me in literature. Stop living at the base level of humanity, right? We're not cave people anymore. Get up here, right? We live in the art mountains now. Let's go, and that makes us better as dungeon masters. That makes our players better as that makes our players better, and that makes the people we interact with outside of the game, right? They have to look things up to understand what we are saying because our language is so high above them, right? And by pulling them to the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy and insisting that no one around a dungeon master lives at the base of Maslow's pinnacle, we improve the citizens of our nations and the citizens of our world, making them better people. And that's just vocabulary, right? Now extended to cartography, botany, mathematics, right? A polymath array of disciplines and knowledge of which we are all dungeon masters are dedicating to mastering, right? I get it. Like OGM doesn't get it. He doesn't get that he's called to know more, be better, and be an exemplar, a paragon of humanity as a dungeon master. That's what a dungeon master is, right? Nested within dungeon mastering, it is already assumed by Gary Gygax that you mastered life, right? That you are an example of what is to be done. And this is and this is why OGGM is upset and frightened, right? Because he does not, and many people do not want to be looked at as an example, right? And my advice to you is, if you don't want to be looked at as an example, do not pick up the dungeon mastering role. Do not, right? Your fear and your inferiority complex have no position in the influence of people. And if you don't think dungeon masters influence people, you are not paying attention. They influence people in the fantasy world and in the IRL world. They are functionally, definitionally self-selected as leaders, right? And the reason why I'm bent is I'm so sick of explaining this when it's so clearly obvious, right? And it's like the world is just purposely keeping their eyes closed to what Gary actually established, which is frustrating for me, right? But we're getting there. All right. So, in addition to just vocabulary, right, and all the other disciplines I just talked about, with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right, it insists, right, that you respect. They say it constantly. They said it all over D&D Direct, right? They're like, hey, welcome to Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons for everybody. You respect every race. You respect every gender. You respect every orientation. listen to what they're saying. They're saying, be a better human. Be a better human. You don't get to do what Trump supporters do. You don't get to love some people and hate others, right? Welcome to D&D. Be better. Do better. You have to be an example of humanity's love and kindness and inclusion, not exclusion. They're saying, no, shuffler. This ain't a place where you can just hold on to your prejudices and be small. This isn't about fun. This is about winning humanity, making humanity love itself and defeat ancient prejudices and ancient inferiorities and being a better human being, right? And Strixhaven goes to orientation, right? And the PHB goes to gender, and the PHB goes to race, and here's another one. And Call of the Netherdeep goes to race and says, all are included. We here in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition don't give excuses on why races are excluded in the fantasy world. We don't exclude in the fantasy world, and we don't exclude in the IRL, right? Dungeons & Dragons is about making yourself better. The tangible end goal of every single Dungeons & Dragons session, in my humble opinion, is to make yourself better, make players at your table better, and make citizens in your nation and your world better. And if you think it's fun, you are a useless shuffler who is wasting your time, wasting your players' time, and holding back, right, humanity itself. That is my opinion. I'm ready to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.